everybody. Welcome to Redemption City Stories this month. Thank you for listening. Really, the idea behind this podcast was all the time when me and other staff members are having coffee or lunch with a church member, we just find ourselves going, where's the whole church would have just heard what you just said over lunch. And so that's the idea. So today we have none other than Cassidy Tuggle. The Tuggle's real.
Oh,
wow. I like that one.
Why don't you do it?
Okay, well,
you'll get to know Cassidy very well today. And then alongside me, my co-host is Courtney Fox. They're roommates.
We are.
Indeed.
So Courtney has a lot of like in-depth questions ready to go. Mm-hmm. Courtney, as you know, is our kids minister, next gen leader, and she does so many, and then part of her job title is special projects as assigned. So if it needs to happen, we turn to Courtney. Okay, so Cassidy, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks
I love
for having
you.
me.
Every time, so I don't mean to put perfection on you, but you embody when we talk about. So if you're unfamiliar, we end all of our worship services by saying, "I love you, God so loves you. Now go make Fort Worth more like heaven." You embody that. Mm-hmm. You really make Fort Worth more like heaven with your job, which we're going to hear about, and just kind of your spirit. Just kind of how you are, we were just joking about how she's an easy laugh. She just makes it all better,
Mm-hmm.
So, Cassidy, tell us everything.
Yeah. Okay. So I am from a small town, like an hour outside of town. You wouldn't know where it is. No one ever does.
Small town outside of the town. Okay.
Yeah. Outside of this town, city thing, wherever we live. And yeah, I had a great childhood. My parents are awesome people. My dad works in law enforcement, and my mom, she wore many hats throughout my childhood and has settled as a realtor, which is an amazing job for her. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest of three. My brother and sister, my best friends, I love them. So we were raised in the church. I will say, growing up, I loved going on Sundays, but I think that I had a lot of misconceptions, and there were just a lot of holes in my understanding of what the gospel was. And so, we moved around a lot as kids, and I think that has part to do with it, that we church hopped a lot because we would leave for my dad's promotions and then always move back home. And so that was hard for me as a kid because I'm super shy and just really struggled like making connections in the new places we would go. So I think a lot of that turned into me being an angsty kid.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so, but people outside of the house would have never known what was going on. And so, there was just a lot of like hypocrisy, and I felt like I was Hannah Montana living a double life, except it wasn't the cool rock star kind, So, I caused a lot of hurt in my family, and
really?
But I'll get to it more later, but it's just all been redeemed in like really cool ways. I've got some notes just because.
Share or don't share. So, if I'm surprised by that, other people in our church. So, share or don't share as much as it, but like what kind of pain? Like what happened?
I always felt like I was being wronged and like I was the victim in every situation. And so I was a mastermind of making a mountain out of a molehill.
Wow.
And so, somebody in the house would say one slight thing that I didn't appreciate, and I would just be an instigator and would look for ways to turn it into an argument. And so my parents, as well-intended as they were, said some things that at 12 really just would set me off. And it would just turn into something that it definitely shouldn't have been. I could sit here and list all of my grievances, but truly, I just think over the past 10 years, I've learned the importance of taking accountability and ownership of my actions. It all boils down to me being self-righteous and wanting to correct everybody else's behavior, seeing the specks in their eyes, but refusing to see the log in my own.
Wow.
So it just kind of got worse and worse, especially as I went into high school. That's a tumultuous time in anybody's life.
Sure.
But I was extremely vindictive and spiteful. But again, quietly, people on the outside never would have thought that was going on. I like whenever I read about the Pharisees, I just like so relate because I was sitting on my moral high horse looking down on everybody else thinking, they just need to kind of bend to my will or just follow the rules the exact right way and life would be better. Or if everybody just did everything my way, wouldn't the world be a great place?
Be perfect.
And it absolutely would not. The older I've gotten, I'm like, oh man, Lord, thank you that you are the creator of all things good and holy, because I just had like very twisted and thwarted ideas of what was good and right. So yeah, I was just constantly looking for arguments and blowing things and escalating things to unnecessary proportions. And it got to the point where I moved out of my house in high school and moved in with my grandparents. So yeah, that is like a really tender spot in my family still, even to this day. I'd put my family through so much at that point. Friends at school would be like, I'm so confused. I thought everything was going totally fine. And I just wouldn't even know what to say because I think deep down I really knew like this is on me, but I wanted it to be on them type of thing, But yeah, my parents, they were brokenhearted, devastated. My siblings, they felt totally abandoned. And then my grandparents that I was living with, they saw me go through some of the like coldest seasons of my life. And just got, a really nasty end of that. But looking back, I am just so grateful that that was the situation that I was placed in, that I had a place to go to my grandparents. They're great people. Again, my parents are great people, but it was just really awesome to walk through that season and be able to have a different perspective, to be outside of the situation and to really just like reevaluate what was going on. Zooming out, it gave me perspective of the way that I was damaging the relationships in my life. In high school, I was a country girl. We listened to country music. And so this is a secular song. It's not like worship music by any means, but
That's acceptable.
but there's a lyric by Wade Bowen that just said, sometimes a battle won is a battle lost.
Yes.
Man, that was so profound to me. And just like really woke me up. I think that I'd heard a version of that from people in my life over and over again, but hearing it in a song at the right moment, whenever I needed to, just kind of woke me up and made me realize, me being away and creating this separation, like it was good to give me this perspective, but I need to go and make things right with my family. And so
you're 17, 18, 19?
Yeah, I think I was 17 at this point. So yeah, most of my senior year I spent with my grandparents. Looking back, we've talked about that and just like how lonely and isolating that felt for each of them. And like, I felt that way too, but I created that. Like I stepped into it. They were kind of forced into that situation. So yeah, just over the past 9 years, something like that. God's really just been teaching me to slow down in the heat of anger, to really listen and hear people out, that I don't always have to be right, that the integrity of the relationship is so much more important to me than my pride. So he just really been breaking me down of that. And if the gospel message is one of Jesus restoring broken people back into God, can't that be my story too? And so that's what I want to do. It's just been the consistent theme of my life that that God has really redeemed self-righteousness and anger within me. And he's made me realize that I don't need to be so combative. I don't always need to be right. Really, growing up, I didn't study scripture. I would go and hear the sermon on Sunday, but that's kind of the extent of it. And so in college, being in a Bible study was just, so changing in my story with Jesus and my walk with him. Somebody had taken the phrase out of the Beatitudes and had talked about being poor in spirit as being spiritually bankrupt. That flipped everything on its head for me and just really made me realize that much of what I had thought that I had known was self-righteousness and wasn't actually reverence to God. That no good works I ever do could have me stand justified before him. And being right with God has nothing to do with me doing all of the right things, but in trusting the finished work of Jesus.
Right.
So yeah, that's my story up until college.
I think so. I don't know if you heard. So we interviewed Miss Carol Wilson a few months ago, and I and other people in the church were shocked that she had ever sinned.
Yeah.
And not only that, but she had walked away from the church. She really prioritized her career over everything. And I'm like, it just seems like she's never even thought a cuss word.
Yeah.
But here she is with a past. And so currently I'm shocked, honestly, that you would ever fight with anyone, much less, describe yourself as combative. So over the past 9 years, you're describing a journey. Mm-hmm. It's like walking out of self-righteousness and the natural anger that leads to, and I hear you. You're not like, well, and I've arrived now, but you have grown spiritually. So what does it look like? So what steps? So you said you've turned to the Word. What other kind of concrete steps have you taken to mature and grow out of that perspective and into the Christ-like and gracious perspective?
Yeah, I think humility is not something that's tangible or something that you can see, but it's definitely evident in my walk with the Lord in the sense of I have really tried to make a real effort to set down my pride. My family, even 4 or 5 years ago, they're like, what happened? You're just completely different in the way that you interact with us. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that is nothing but the goodness of God. Yes. Spending time in prayer. My prayer life looks a lot different. I used to pray God, just let this happen. And instead it's, God, let me reflect you to people. And so I think that understanding that mercies are new for me every day has also been really, really impactful. Just changed the story for me, because over the past 9 years, what I've really struggled with is shame and anxiety, and those manifest themselves in lots of different ways. But shame specifically, it was really easy those first couple of years to just wake up angry at myself and think, if I'm this upset with myself, my family is surely still upset with me. God has got to be angry with me because of how I acted. But instead, I just see nothing but Jesus' sacrifice, and that whenever God sees me, he sees the atonement of Jesus, and I stand clean before him. That's right. Whereas before I felt like I was still standing in, bloody cloth, right. I was still dirty. And so I think just spending time in prayer, spending time in knowing what is true instead of just establishing my own truth I had for much of my life up until that point has been really, really transformative. Because it's just not worth hurting your relationships. It's not worth being fast to hear what I want to hear from someone instead of really taking the time to zip it and listen to what they're actually saying instead of trying to build my own narrative. So I think just being slow to hear from the people in my life, but also just being patient to hear from God in what really is good and how I interact with others.
Wow.
That's good. I just keep thinking so I'm trying not to just jump in middle of conversations that Cassidy and I have at home.
Yeah.
But reconciliation obviously is a big factor with you and your family. And I think that word is so often looked over because we're just in such a divided space. And I know you can't teach, you can't speak for everybody. You can teach, and we can talk about how great of a teacher you are. Yeah. But I know you can't speak for everybody. All these situations are different. But what made reconciliation so important to you? Why was it so important to reconcile to your family? And I even see the way you reflect that too in watching other people and encouraging them to be reconciled with one another too. Why, what sits behind that? And then how do you encourage people to do that in a way that helps push them forward and in a hard thing? And it can be a really hard thing because there can be so much hurt, in that.
I think what drives my heart for reconciliation is that I have been reconciled. Yeah. I am so undeserving of the grace and mercy that's been shown to me. I deserve eternal separation from the Lord, but Jesus loved me enough that he was willing to bear all of that and to rise victoriously. And if that's the story of redemption and reconciliation that God's willing to have with me, it's just my heart that I don't waste another minute
Yes.
living in what's the opposite of reconciliation, strife for the rest of my life, you know? And I also just started realizing too that so many of the things that did cause tension and strife between family members or friends or coworkers or whatever it might be, it was almost always petty, small things that in the grand scheme of things really do not matter. And the things that do matter, I think that it's totally necessary to have conversations about, but it's not worth it to be so prideful that I'm refusing to hear somebody else's side. See if we can come to a compromise if it's something that's compromisable. And ultimately, if it's not disagreements about the truth of the gospel, you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to agree with me 100% of the time. So I think just approaching your conversations with other people, understanding that I don't have all of the answers. I'm willing to hear you out and hear what's going on. And just going into the conversation with an open mind of like, hey, it's more important to me that at the end of this conversation, my mom and I are still mom and daughter, and my sister and I, we are still sisters, or whoever it might be, that, you know, that relationship is what's most important in that conversation.
That's good.
That's awesome. I mean, and it just sounds like it's the difference in the fruit that, you know, as you described, self-righteousness or anger, the fruit that comes from that, or the fruit that comes from humility. And now you're an agent of reconciliation, as the scripture says. Okay, switching gears a little bit. What do you do for a living and why?
Yeah. I'm a teacher.
She's the best teacher ever.
And I'm a teacher because I want to be a billionaire by the age of 30. So I'm almost there.
Yes. You're in it for the money. Yes.
No, I just, I adore kids. I think that they're awesome.
What age? Like what?
Currently second grade.
Okay.
I've done third and fourth in the past. I'm open to other things in the future, but we'll see. Second grade is superior. They're awesome.
Yes.
I love second graders. They're so cool. Some of the funniest people I know. Also, my job is just enjoyable. Truthfully, working with kids is something I look forward to every single day. They teach me so much about my walk with the Lord, about what it looks like to be dependent on an adult. So them and their childlike faith and trust in me, also their parents, obviously, but just seeing that teaches me so much about what it should look like in my walk with the Lord. Again, setting aside that pride of I know it all and saying, you know what, God, like I'm surrendering and trusting you even in this area that I don't know. And I learned that from my second, third, and fourth graders. They have really taught me that over the past 5 years. So short answer, I love kids.
That's great.
Yeah.
How do you know, you're a public school teacher, so you don't just get to bring your faith into any conversation, right? So what does it look like to like show your kids the gospel without always being able to explicitly say it because you actually can't in ways, you know?
Totally. That has been something I've been navigating.
You're in the public school space.
Yes. It's hard because sometimes kids come to you with questions and it's like, let me pull out my Bible really quick and point to you what is true.
Yeah.
But again, it's not appropriate in the public school setting, especially, you know, my students specifically come from lots of different backgrounds. And I have very few believers in my class. But I think ultimately it just comes to emulating Christ. It's like, man, you know, sometimes a kid will do something and in the heat of the moment, I might have to take a second, turn around, point to the wall and remember a 7-year-old is not my enemy. Yes. They're really not. And like, also a lot of what they're doing is not ever intended to hurt me. And so I'm like, okay, in this moment, I could act like the world and respond out of anger and start yelling, screaming, put it away, whatever, you know. But ultimately, I think it just speaks a lot more volumes to them to respond out of love and compassion and gentleness, which can be hard to do again sometimes. But I just ultimately think that fostering those relationships and being as nurturing as I can in those moments speaks volumes. And, it's sometimes cool because every morning we do a morning meeting where we sit down and each day has a different theme. Mondays are tell me what you did this weekend. And occasionally one or two kids might tell me, oh, I went to church yesterday. And they'll always look at me and they're like, I'm guessing you went to church, Miss Tuggle. You had to have.
Awesome. You've never told me that. I love that.
It's so cute. It's so cute. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that I'm able to just show love to these kids, a lot of whom might receive it at home and some that don't. And so just knowing I might be one of the only smiling faces they see that day, or, I know a lot of teachers, they're like, no hugs in the classroom. And I'm like, give them to me all day. Because, research shows that hugs are super important for human connection. And I'm like, if that's important for me as an adult, how much more important is it for this 7-year-old kid? And so, yeah.
I think you do a great job of it just based on the stories I hear. Like all Cassidy's former students like come and see her and they're like, Miss Tuggle, Miss Tuggle. So I think you're doing a great job, but I think that has to be a really hard thing to navigate for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, every person can attest to the power of a teacher and, of all the kids that you had this year, you'll have next year. I mean, half probably are having a tough time at home, if not more. And so for you to then, I guarantee you they look forward to being there, having the hugs, having somebody ask them about what they did this weekend. I remember, so the teacher in 11th grade, really for the first time, I had a teacher that kind of saw a gift with words. Nobody had ever really had seen that. She pushed me. I wrote her a letter after I finished my last degree, just like nobody had ever, so my parents were awesome. They circled me with love so much that they never pushed me at all. Like they never challenged me at all. And so to have a teacher that really kind of for the first time pushed me towards something so I only until heaven will we know what all you did for kids and that they look forward to the hugs and the time. Changing gears again. One thing I wanted to ask about, I think I can say Megan.
Yes.
If I don't say where she is, that's all I'll say for now. Okay. So
but we love Megan too.
If you're part of our church, you know that we sent Megan to go help people across the world.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I can say
that's
there? Okay. So Megan, Cassidy's a longtime bestie.
Yeah.
We went to college together.
Yes.
Moved here together.
I moved before. She followed me. Couldn't be without me.
Megan, thank you for following. Okay. But super besties when we sent her across the world.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you?
Okay, well, to talk about that, I feel like I kind of need to give some backstory about my friendship with Megan. That has been the sweetest friendship that I have ever had. Just because Megan saw me in that transitional period that I was talking to you guys about, and she has helped me in ways that I will never be able to say thank you enough for. Because she really challenged me in my faith and just taught me a side of like tenderness that I had not, that I hadn't had a friend show me. So Megan and I, we were freshmen at A&M together, went to Impact, which is like a Christian freshman camp together. And I really forced my friendship on her, truthfully. I think she was trying to be friends with somebody else, and I was like, no, you and I are best friends. I see it right now. So she has walked with me through everything the past 9 years. I think it was really cool seeing how our friendship was able to transition after college to being roommates again here in Fort Worth. She had spent an extra year in College Station, and so whenever she ended up moving back here, we got to live together again and just experience like adulthood and working life together. We just have like a really close bond. I count her more as a sister than anything, and like her family is my family and vice versa. And so, such a sweet friendship. And so I have known for almost a decade, like our entire friendship, that this was something Megan wanted to do. And I try really hard to cheerlead for her and be like, yes, go, like totally be faithful in like what the Lord is calling you to, and serve well wherever you are, truthfully. But if you feel like it's overseas, that's where I want you. And that's what I would say on the outside, but on the inside, the whole time I'm like, absolutely not. How can I plot for her to stay here? She cannot go somewhere that I am also not. And so, I think it has been a challenge over the past year. But it's also just been a really sweet thing because I've seen God be really faithful to Megan and the community that she's serving. She is one of the most relational people that I know. And I don't know a single person who doesn't adore Megan within 5 seconds of meeting her. And so, if anybody's going to go and emulate Christ overseas, glad it's Megan. She's back for a little while.
Yeah, I just heard that.
And man, celebrating, absolutely. Can't wait. But yeah, it's been really good. Definitely hard spots. But yeah, I'm also just really grateful to have Courtney as a roommate because the past year has been an easy transition in the sense of like, I'm not feeling lonely whenever I go home or anything like that. Because I know I've got somebody to debrief every moment of the day with.
And I love it.
Yeah. So it is, I don't know, both and. Like I feel happy and sad for her to be gone, but I trust that it's the right thing for her and the right thing for everybody that she's around.
Yeah. Like, did we toss around a little bit that we're like, we hope she hates this first year and she comes back to live with us? Maybe. But we don't really mean it. We don't really mean
We didn't
it.
pray it the hardest.
We just said, if she wants to come home, she can.
Always. Always.
And the church really, so I know that Courtney told you, but the church really does want to like send y'all to somewhere, maybe somewhere in Europe, and she meets y'all there.
Please.
To really care for her, because just she can have like good food, and English conversation, with friends. But what you're describing there is, so sending, planting churches and sending people is the best and hardest thing we do.
Yeah.
I can't say their names either, but we're commissioning another couple to go to a similar region next week. And I did their wedding, was there when they had their first baby, did their premarital counseling, and then now shipping them across the world where we can hopefully see them once a year. And I'm just so proud of them. And I'm devastated. So I think so. That's just part of our calling as a church. And so you've done that so well. And then also like staying close with her and, but yeah, sending and multiplying across the world is the best and the hardest.
Yeah.
100%. You guys do like a phone call every Friday or something,
Yeah,
right?
we do.
I love that.
We do. I look forward to it every Friday. I think that was maybe one of the things, I don't know if she would say she was most fearful of it, but I definitely was. Just like what communication looks like, because again, Megan is the most relational person I know. I know she's going to be intentional in reaching out to me. I struggle with distance relationships because I do not like communicating on the phone. I'd rather see you face to face. I'd rather see your facial reactions to everything I have to say. I think there's something so awesome about face-to-face interactions.
Totally.
That gets lost over the phone. And so I was really just like afraid of what that was going to look like. But yeah, every Friday on my way to work, I'm on the phone with Megan, telling her the most mundane parts of life. But and I think she would probably say the same, but everything she has to say, I'm just like enchanted by. I'm like, what? This is so cool.
Yeah.
You're doing this? And she's like, it's literally just what I had for lunch yesterday.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, but okra? Yeah.
What does it taste like there?
Not fried.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it's been really cool to be able to talk most Fridays. Sometimes she's got something going on or my schedule is slightly different and we can't chat. But yeah, we were able to talk every Friday, which is just awesome. And I think helpful for me because, again, like I said, it's hard for me with distance friendships. And so it's taught me the importance of reaching out to people who I maybe don't see on a regular basis because I'm thinking about people all the time. And I am just so slow to send that message and be like, hey, you were on my mind. Hope you're doing all right. Or fill me in. What's been going on? So yeah, I learned so much through communication with Megan. So
cool.
So, and anybody listening right now, especially if you know who we're talking about, maybe even pause the podcast or right when you're done with this, stop and pray for Megan today.
Yeah.
That God would keep her encouraged and multiply her witness across the region she's in. Cass, anything else that you would like to say to our church or anything you want to add?
Yeah, I've been holding this one in for a
my
while.
gosh.
Finally get it out, Cass.
Right now,
Just hit
it's
us
her
with
grievances with me. Just put them on the pod.
So here's the thing. Every night, Courtney, I'm just kidding.
Safe space. Do what you got to do.
There's nothing. I'm just really grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
We love you. God, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I just want to leave you with one of the things. I don't know. You are, like when Matt started talking about you at the beginning, like you really are one of the most kind and intentional people that I've ever met. And like, you really do try to see both sides, even when you're fired up about something, like you really do try to see like where the other person is coming from. And I think that is so admirable. And I also just like, I get to hear about your job and like hear about, you know, these sweet kids that you interact with and all of that. But I also get to watch it here because you serve with our kids here, our sweet little pre-Kers. And there are kids who are obsessed with you. Like they think you are the best of the best. A couple weeks ago, Cassidy wasn't here because she was on a trip with some friends. And one of our sweet little girls, she was sitting next to me at the table like 30 minutes in. And I'm in there hanging out with her. I feel like we're having a good time. And she goes, I guess Cassidy is not coming today. And just was so disappointed. And so I am just so grateful for the way you love the families here. And like that doesn't just happen with everybody. It's just you just carry such a gift with you. And I'm so grateful that I get to witness it, honestly, and be encouraged and challenged to live the same way. So thank you.
Well, Court, thank you. But honestly, a lot of that has to do with your leadership in the kids ministry. No, I'm serious.
It does.
And just the vision that you have that these kids would feel so loved. They would know that their church loves them and that Jesus loves them. And so that's your heart for the ministry. And that's what the people you have serving in the ministry care to communicate with the kids too. So thank you for all you do, Court.
That's right. Cass, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.